Welcome. Hey, Shane. Looks like you're tuning in from the islands. Go ahead. Looks like we have lots of note takers here, but we have some lovely humans in the house. Joa, Gina, yes, Axel. Welcome, welcome, my friends. I'm super excited for today's session because it's been a highly requested one. And let me go ahead and put on my spotlight here. Awesome. Today we're going to be talking about agents and n8n specifically, which is my favorite agent builder. And I'm going to just show you kind of the overview of what an AI agent is and talk about the use cases because we're specifically focusing on how we integrate n8n with Lovable. And then my tech stack trilogy is powering it all with high level on the back end for our sale because a lot of us have already spent years, months coming up with profitable systems, automations, and we're not trying to rebuild all of that hard work. We are simply using these tools to build a better front end and a value later, a value layer. And one of my favorite things about n8n, it's an opportunity for you to kind of extract some of that genius. And now we have this kind of modular system where maybe you're not selling your entire lovable project and going about it that way, but you can actually sell these agents as standalone systems to other builders, right? Now there's this whole new generation of vibe coders that are going to have different needs. And so that's what I'm excited to talk to you all about today. So, for my people that are here, let me know where you are at with n8n. Go ahead and put it in the comments if you have used it before, if you've heard about it before, and if there's any particular questions that you want me to address today. So go ahead, take 1 to 2 minutes to put that in the chat. And I'm going to pull up here, close down some of these windows and get started and just showing some of the basics. Now, I don't have like a full presentation. I'm going to kind of use this as the jump off point based off of what people have used it a tiny bit, said Joa. Awesome. And we still have people coming on in. Hey, Harry. Joa said, much more familiar with Make, but switching to n8n. Bethany, can we talk about databases? Yes, we can. Harry says, I know it exists. That's it. I don't know why or what it does or how it can or should be used. Okay. That's a perfect starting point. Um, Joa mentioned Make. So Harry, have you heard of Make.com or Zapier? There's an alternative called Pabbly. Okay. It's very similar. So you know that has anybody had the experience when they go to try and log into a site, it'll allow people to make a login with their email and password, or it'll say sign in with Google or sign in with Facebook. All right, I'm seeing Joe nod yes. The reason that you're able to do that is because Facebook, Google, they provided what's called an API endpoint. And they said, hey, we're going to give you, as a developer, the access to incorporate an authentication system, a login system using our software. And because they make that available now, we're able to connect two different softwares. And we do this through what's called an API, application programming interface. Now, a developer is like will create these what are called requests to get that information to connect to the APIs, but it's can be a learning curve. And so tools like Zapier, like Make, like n8n allow us to do that in a no code, low code way. So basically that's one of the major functionalities is that you're able to connect two softwares via API, looking at a documentation. And so that's primarily what we're using n8n for. And I'm going to show you how that looks, like it actually physically looks. Jojo said, I'm familiar, but need a good walkthrough, not applied, but understand it's essential to my biz. I didn't even see you sneak up in here, Jojo. Hey, Jojo. Awesome. Good to see you. Okay. So I just want to break down first the difference between a chatbot and an agent. Okay. So ChatGPT is considered more a chatbot. All right. If I go in, I put in a query, what is the weather like today? Or what is, a recipe for an apple crumble? It's going to, look through all of the data that it's trained on and return with a result. And now we're having a conversation. I could say something like, hey, chat, can you give me a social media plan for the next 2 weeks? I'm in the beauty industry and I want to post 2 reels, whatnot. Give me some ideas for carousel posts, and it'll come up and it'll give me, a list of something that could be pretty decent. But that's where the conversation stops. It's just a chatbot. At the end of the day, I still have to create the content, post the content, all of the different things. So it gives me a good starting point on inspiration, but I still have to do the thing. An agent can not only come up with that social media plan, but it can actually execute and take action on your behalf. And the reason it's able to do that is because it's supercharged with tools. All right. So that's the first thing that we're going to do and go into. So I'm kind of going to be talking about what an agent is, and then towards the end we're going to work backwards, and I'll show you kind of the setup for n8n. Okay. So there's n8n.io, and I'm going to bring this up. So for anybody who is interested, this is the official website of n8n. Okay, so I'll post it in the chat. Now, if you're just getting started, they do give I think it's a 14-day free trial, and then you sign up, and then it's like $25 a month on the cloud. What I do is, because n8n is actually an open source platform, they make their entire code base available, so you can actually run this on your own server, like local hosted, or on a self-hosted. A lot of people use Docker. I use a platform called DigitalOcean, and so I actually pay like $3 to $5 a month for my n8n. So we're talking about a software that's almost free, and this is one of the reasons why a lot of people are migrating to n8n away from Make and away from Zapier. Okay, because Zapier was just getting ridiculous with the number of executions. Like the base plan was like $25, and I was only using like one kind of one call, one workflow. Okay. So n8n, it's a lot more cost efficient, and it's a lot more powerful because it's AI native, whereas other tools like Zapier and Make are kind of adding this AI layer into their existing product because it's in demand. But so yeah, let me go ahead and put this in the chat for you, Jojo. Sorry, it's not. My additional screen broke. I'm devastated. And then other platforms I'm talking about are Make, Padly, and Zapier. Okay, so these all kind of do the same thing, and I know that n8n is a little bit. Why do we use n8n versus everything in Lovable? So I wanted to address that real quick, and then I'm going to show you an actual concrete example. So everybody here, I think, has used Lovable now, and you can create an agent in Lovable. An agent is something that, again, it has logic, it has reasoning, and you can equip it with tools to take action on your behalf. But the problem with that is every time, if I'm getting an answer that's not congruent with my logic, every time I want to figure out why it's coming up with that answer, I have to go into Lovable and prompt Lovable and be like, can you show your work? Can you explain the logic, the reasoning? What's the agent prompt? And I have to keep doing that. And so every time I want to go in and update that logic, I have to go through that process, and that can burn credits really quickly. Versus an agent, a standalone in n8n, I'm able to update that at any time. It never costs anything. And those updates seamlessly are pushed automatically to my Lovable project, and I don't have to change anything in Lovable. Okay. So I'm going to show you an example of a product that you've all seen before, but what you might not have known is that it's being powered by an n8n agent on the back end. And I'll show you exactly what that looks like. This is like an inside. Which platform is your n8n hosted on again? It's hosted on DigitalOcean. And I actually also, thank you for asking that. I have a resource for you. There's a guy, he has a great tutorial. I'm not going to remake it, but if you have any questions about it, I can help you. This guy, self-host on n8n for free. I'm pretty sure, yeah, it was this guy. So I'm posting a link to a 3-minute tutorial, and this is the exact tutorial that I followed to self-host on DigitalOcean. All right, so it does look a little bit technical, but this guy does a really great job of walking you through it. Hey, Lise, welcome. All right, so let me pull up my n8n instance, and I'm going to show you something that you hadn't seen. Shane said, I use Docker. Do you know what the difference is with Ocean? No, Docker is like the most popular choice. Ocean might even actually like be a layer on top of that. I used also Railway. It doesn't really matter. I am just always testing a lot. And then one of my clients had mentioned DigitalOcean, and I kind of wanted to get that ahead of the curve for him. So I've actually it's been a good experience for me because I couldn't figure out on my Railway how to update my instance. And so then I just switched over to DigitalOcean. All right. So let me go ahead and show you again something that you might have seen, but now you're going to see the back end today. So I've talked about this app before, chargewell.app. I start calculating. Again, this is for freelancers, coaches, people that are doing implementation, people that are doing any type of call where they're creating a quote and trying to figure out what they should charge for their services, right? So I might say, I'm creating a RAG database system for an energy company that's going to help, streamline the processing of their internal knowledge base and implement it in a chatbot, something like that. And so it takes this input, and this is all happening right now in Lovable. It's doing the parsing for me in Lovable. I can add all of my experience here, all of this, and then what should I charge? Right now, just now, when I click that, what should I charge? It's actually sending that to an n8n agent for processing. And let me show you what that looks like. So if I come over here to my n8n instance, this is my self-hosted, you can see that in my executions, there's some activity happening here. There's this, my pricing calculator is running. And if I open it up, I can see what's happening behind the scenes. All right, so this is what the agents actually looks like right here. Now, if I go to my front end, it's still processing, getting that data back, and then it's going to display seamlessly. It says there you should charge 7,800. It's actually, yeah, I had asked Claude what to charge for this, and it was like between 5 and 8K. So it's pretty accurate. And it has all of this information that it's coming up with, that it's being that's output. And so all of this is actually coming from an n8n agent and not from Lovable. It's being displayed in Lovable, but it's all in my n8n agent. So let's take a look and see what just happened. So I can look at the execution. It just happened now on January 15th. And we're gonna to just dissect what we have here. Okay. So the first thing when I'm connecting from Lovable to n8n, it's the same way that I've taught you all how to connect your high level to Lovable. And it's through what we call a webhook. So this webhook is I programmed it to tell Lovable. Yeah, thank you, Joa, that every time somebody clicks, charge my worth, execute this webhook, and I give the webhook endpoint. And then from there, it takes all of these actions. It does this transformation. Remember the input, app transformation, and output. And then the output will respond back to the webhook. And then I have it displayed here in the front end of Lovable. So that's the end-to-end process on how the easiest and most common way that you'll find yourself integrating n8n with Lovable. Okay, so here I'm going to go, and the first thing that I did was basically clean up the input. So I can see here that these are, see, I'm creating a RAG database system. So it took my transcript, it took the data, and then I'm mapping all of that data. So the first thing is actually a code node. This was just a step that I added in to just clean up the way that all of the input gets processed, or basically formatted rather. And then here's my AI agent. Okay. So this is what an agent looks like. Now note, I'm going to zoom in here. Sorry, my additional screen broke. So I'm doing like a little, I have it all on one screen, which I'm not used to. Here's my AI agent. Now we can see there's 3 components, really 4 components to an AI agent. The first one that we're going to focus on is the brain, and that's your chat model. In this case, I'm using Google Gemini. What are some other chat models that you all know of? Go ahead and put them in the chat. Let's brainstorm. Claude. Yes, Claude is one of my favorites. The most popular Claude models are Sonnet, 4.5 and Opus 4.5. And you want to use something like that when you're doing really complex reasoning. Holly, Perplexity is amazing. Perplexity has a model that allows you to do deep research. So that could be a really great model if you're trying to really dig deep, but it's more expensive, right? Vasala, Chat GPT. Yes, Venice AI, said Chelsea. Yes, Chat GPT, obviously our beloved, right? And if I click here to go to the chat model, let me just disconnect that for a minute. I can look and see there's Anthropic chat model. I can go and I can search for OpenAI, the parent company of ChatGPT. And then I can actually select from the list any of the models that I want. So there's 4.1 mini, there's 4. So sometimes when ChatGPT retires models in its actual ChatGPT interface, you can still call those models via API. All right. So these are probably more models than you imagine ChatGPT has. But these are all different models. Now you notice some of these models are specializing in processing different types of input, like audio or like images, or some of these models are specialized in creating images. Like ChatGPT had DALL-E as their image generation model for a long time. So the first part of an AI agent is going to be the chat model, and this is what we consider to be the brain of your agent. It's the LLM that you use. The most popular ones that you're going to use are ChatGPT, 4.1 or 5.1, depending on, your pricing needs and what you're actually trying to do. We have Anthropic, Sonnet 4.5, Opus 4.5, and these are really good models for high complex reasoning when you're processing a lot of data and you need a bigger context window, or if you're relying on something that's processing a lot of code. Okay. And then we also have our good old Google Gemini. If you're doing deep research, somebody said Perplexity, that's a really good one as well. So you're going to select your model depending on your needs. Now, if I have a really simple agent that's just trying to format or search for simple information from a query and extract it, I don't need to use a really expensive high reasoning model. In fact, I don't want to. It's going to get really expensive when I could achieve something that with like a Google, this one, I did the Gemini 3 Pro. I could use even something like a Gemini Flash would be even cheaper. Okay. But I want to have a little bit of robustness because there's some reasoning here for this type of this for what we're doing here with this agent. So I'm going to reconnect. And so this is the interface of n8n where you can just like drag and drop, or you click the plus, and then it's going to show you all of the different options, example for memory. All right. So what do we know about memory in general? Why is memory important? And remember, my whole concept, what I wrote a book on almost 2 years ago, is AI, the bootleg brain. Our brain is where we store memory. So the same way where it's just all like, if I want, hey, I want a double cheeseburger, 3 strawberry milkshakes, 1 Napoleon milkshake, 2 sides of fries, 1 hold of salt, and also like a lemonade half and half. And then it'd be like, okay, what's the first thing I ordered? It'd be like, whoa, 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 whoa. But you'll remember the lemonade because that's the last thing, right? So AI, again, it's modeled after the most intelligent design, which is the human brain. And so there's going to be a lot of parallels there when we talk about the context window and the memory, right? I know I'm making Shane hungry. I know, right? But for something like this, we don't really need a whole lot of we don't need memory for this particular agent because it's processing one input at a time. If we were to create this as a chat agent, we would want to add memory. Because if I said, hey, what do you have on the menu? And then the agent tells me like 3 things on the menu. And if I don't have memory installed on that agent, and I'll be like, what does the burger come with? It's going to not understand the previous context and it's going to process each input like it's the very first time. All right, so it's not going to have any memory. So that's why we add memory to an agent. But that's more so when we are creating agents for chat. All right, because they need to have context to be able to respond to somebody. Joey said, I need a memory agent in my brain. I know, right? If we could like outsource, I'm sure that I'm sure Elon's working on it. Don't you worry. All right, so you have to be clear on what the ultimate purpose is. Yes, when you're going in and you're building an agent, you want to be thinking about what the ultimate purpose is, because that's going to inform the way you configure the four important aspects, which is the chat model, the memory, the tools, and the system prompt, which is inside the agent here. Shane said, can you add one of your GPT agents into the workflow? Are you referring to like a custom GPT, Shane? Yes. Okay. So, OpenAI has never allowed custom GPTs. They don't provide an endpoint for them. So, a couple ways that you can kind of get around that is one, you can recreate an agent using the same logic. And I can kind of show you in this, like what you would do. So, like, let's say you have the GPT. Typically, you'll have some type of knowledge base. You'll have the system prompts. And by default, your model, your brain is going to be ChatGPT. So you could recreate it by adding this agent node, taking your master prompt from ChatGPT and adding it here in the user message, attaching your model, keeping ChatGPT if you want that same consistency. And then you can add tools like your knowledge base. So technically, these knowledge bases would be considered tools. Now, tools, in this case, I have a code tool, I have a think tool, there's like a calculator tool. So if you're actually, I need to actually add this calculator tool because my agent is doing some calculations, and it just enhances its it makes it more robust the more tools. This is where we have things like MCPs, model context protocols. It allows you to add an entire MCP server as a tool, which is trained on all of the endpoints of an API. What else besides calculator? So this is where I could add a Google Sheet as a tool. So let's say I have like a specific pricing spreadsheet already. Well, I can tell my agent, hey, this is referred to my pricing sheet tool. And then if an inquiry comes in and they're asking about a specific service, it can actually search in my Google Sheet to find the row where I have that price. So what it's returning is going to be accurate and it's going to return that price, as well as, like, let's say they're asking for multiple things. Well, it's calculating the price and maybe it's multiple services that are in the same tool. It'll actually add them together and all of that. Shane, I like to use Manus for deep research on a new market for SWOT analysis. Can you add Manus into the workflow? Let me see. I don't know if Manus is they have like a tool. So they don't have an inherent tool. That does not mean that you can't add. So anytime I'm trying to figure out if like like if I have a client coming to me and they're like, hey, I want to add this, can I do it? I will just search Manus API documentation. So I search for API documentation and then I'll go to the site and then I'll see what it looks like. So everything we're doing, yeah, so that's basically what Joa says. She said, I don't think Manus has an API, at least last time I checked. So sometimes they have an API, but it's for very limited, where it's not the endpoint that you actually need to achieve the thing that you wanted to do. So here it says, view the complete API documentation with its endpoint. That's what we're looking for, is like the endpoints. So it looks like they do have an API documentation for some very specific tasks. So there's different types of requests. There's a post request. That means when we're putting something out there brand new. Get, when we want to retrieve information. Put, when we want to update information. And delete, when we want to delete information. So it looks like you could use the Manus API to create a task, to create a project, to retrieve projects, or files. Okay. Or to set up an API, but it doesn't look like you could kind of use it how you're using it when you go to the Manus site for the SWOT analysis. Again, if you're looking to do deep research in a workflow via API, like with an agent, Perplexity has the best model. Okay. So I would go here. I'll show you where the model is. I would go here and I would hear Anthropic chat model. And then by default, it's Claude Sonnet 4.5. It is, did they remove it? Hold on. It's not haiku, but I know because me and Nuno, we literally did a live stream about it. Is it? I'll have to see what the model is and get back to you because that was basically I was trying to do a workflow for a client and I needed deep research. And I remember that perplexity. Oh, I'm sorry. It's because I'm in Anthropic. I should have been searching for it's completely different. Perplexity. No, language models. Did I call it via HTML? I'll figure that one out for you, but that would be that's the method for deep research. Okay. So now we have figured out our LLM. That's the chat model. Okay. And then also how you figure out if there's even like the ability to do things, and then you can add your tools. So I'm going to show you now the master prompt for Chargewell. So here it is, the prompt user message. Okay. Now I'm going to open up. This is where I think sometimes people feel a little bit overwhelmed with n8n because like make there, I guess the interface just feels a little bit more intuitive. It can take some time to get used to the n8n interface. So for example, if I want to map things, I think that like in Zapier and Make, it's a little bit more intuitive to map. Where here, I'm going to go to expression and I want to see the entire prompt working. And so you'll notice that I've actually have mapped some information and I can take it and I can drag it over here and it's going to give me the right kind of key. And then it'll show me over here what that translates to in the data that it's actually receiving. So for Chargewell, I said that you're a bold, experienced pricing coach who helps service providers charge what they're actually worth. You've seen thousands of freelancers and consultants leave money on the table, and you're here to fix that. Your job is to give confident, specific pricing advice that empowers them to ask for what they deserve. So that's the first part of the prompt is like letting the agent know what their role is and how they should respond. And then just like if I was going to hire somebody, hire a coach, hire a dietitian, whoever, I need to provide them information for them to do their job right and to do their job well. And so that's the exact same thing I'm going to do with my agent. I got in that from that webhook, I got the raw transcript and I got those 5 data points. So now I'm going to let the agent know here's what the user said about their project. And remember, I gave the live demonstration so you can see this is all happening in real time. It took that transcription and it takes that. And I said, read between the lines here. What complexity are they downplaying? What value are they not seeing? What expertise are they taking for granted? What are they forgetting to include in scope? And then I take the 5 data points that I had pulled and I'm mapping them here. Here's their service. Here's the estimated hours of work. Here's their experience level, the client type, and the location. All right. So it's pulling in that information. And then I give it the logic. Here's how to calculate the floor pricing. Here's how to find. Now, this is a great question. Shane asked, how did you come up with that prompt? So I started in Lovable and I asked, like, Lovable came up with some of the baseline knowledge. And then I went and I asked Lovable to give me its knowledge. Hey, what's your logic? What's your reasoning? Show your work on how you were coming up with that. Because some of it was hit or miss. So then I said, well, I know that I'm going to be targeting high level users or bundling this with high level services. So I want my prompt to reflect that. And again, if I kept going back and forth with Lovable to be like, here's high level and here's everything you should know about it, it was just going to drive me crazy. So that's when I basically took the baseline prompt that Lovable gave me and I actually put it in Claude. Now, Claude is the tool that you want to use when you're developing prompts because Claude, you can add well, one, their Opus and their Sonnet model is more built for this. Like you can actually build an entire n8n workflow from just a conversation. And then it's trained. It has my n8n MCP server attached and my high level MCP server attached. So all of the information that it's giving me is highly accurate. So I went in and I created this prompt in Claude. Okay. And I'm going to show you some of the reasons why when it comes down, like why that's really helpful versus doing it in ChatGPT because it gets a little bit more technical.
So will
Okay.
Claude help you actually develop your n8n workflow, like the holistic workflow?
I'm sorry. Can you say that again? My volume was down.
Oh, sorry, I might be my mic.
No, no, no.
Will Claude also help you develop your entire n8n holistic workflow as well?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's good. I
Yeah.
like that.
And so if you have, yes, if you have your MCPs, I build like everything. I mean, I used to build these workflows node by node.
Hmm.
And I'm talking about like spending like 10, 20 hours building this out to where I can describe it in Claude. It will
Yeah.
actually build the JSON file for me. I import it. So I literally cut down like 80% of the time. Now you still have to go through, you have to add credentials. Sometimes the connectors are off and you have to do some manual work, but I literally go back and forth with Claude. Like I just built like a $7,000 RAG database system last night for a
Really?
client. Yeah. And I
That's
did that
crazy.
all mostly like in Claude. It was
Yeah.
like not even expected. So it was just Claude like developed all of this so I can even show you. So you can see I've been working a lot on it. But it created this entire it's actually several workflows. But
Hmm.
I told Claude what I wanted to do and it built all of this. All I did was import this from a file and it
Wow.
all populated
From a
hmm
JSON file.
from a JSON file.
Wow.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
like it.
So that cut down the process of just like configuring each node. It's absolutely insane. So I used Joa, I used the MCP. Okay. Because I'm having more of the conversation with it. Let's see. In hindsight, would you have done formulas, etc., pre-lovable so you can direct it with those formulas, or do you prefer that lovable create it first and you refine? I probably would have done formulas. You know, a lot of this, like Chargewell was one of those apps that I actually documented building. So I think I think I have about 10 hours of recording, and several of it was done on YouTube Live. So if anybody ever gets super bored, there's tons of content to actually see me getting frustrated and like what it takes, you know? But yeah, I would have like probably worked out that prompt a lot more. I've been so focused on getting the end-to-end workflow, just like, can I get this input and then see success at the end of the tunnel and then going back in and refining the logic. And so again, it depends on the project, it depends on the model, what the end result is. This is just trying to give you a high level overview on what you could be thinking about on how you can use these tools and just looking at what an actual agent looks like, the components, so that you can make informed decisions on your chat model, on if your agent needs memory or not, and what different types of tools you could have access to where it can retrieve that either for more information or it can call on that tool to take action for you. Okay. Great question, Lise. Jojo said, "Can we have the copy of this entire breakdown? Understand that Lovable and Claude came up with it. It's polished. I need it as an example, please." Yeah, absolutely. I'm keeping this one. This is the first time I'm doing an n8n class, and it was because I didn't feel ready because I'm like, I don't even have my PowerPoint and like my curriculum. But in the challenge, it was Kiri. She was like, you know so much that even if you just come on and you do the training, that I think people will get value. So I hope that this is valuable, even though it's not like a whole like structured curriculum. Okay. I'm just kind of just showing you real world examples and then answering your questions. So, yeah, based off this transcript after, I'm going to extract some of the key points and resources. So then that'll be all available, like the self-hosting stuff and like the tools to supercharge. Thank you for that feedback. Joe, it says, I learned better this way than with slides. Okay, awesome. Because I was like, we're just gonna hop in and just I'm gonna show you what it looks like. There's an agent, here's the prompt. So let's go back because this is your bread and butter, right? Your prompts. Okay. Now, back in, late 2023 and then the year of 2024, people were getting rich selling prompt packs, right? Oh, here's like my top 100 prompts for t-shirt designs. And so people will sell prompt packs and some people still do. Custom GPTs kind of allowed you to safeguard that IP a little bit by putting like those prompts into, a GPT. So now the user is not just copying and pasting a prompt, they're having a whole conversation with the GPT. The problem with that is that OpenAI never really came out with a way of monetizing your GPTs. So I can create a GPT, I can publish it as a private link, and I can put it in a PDF and put that behind a paywall, and I can sell it to Shane. But there's nothing stopping Shane from going in his email and being like, look at this cool GPT I just paid for everybody. Joe, like, I'm gonna send it to Joe and I'm gonna send the link out to JoJo and everybody. And there's nothing that I could do to stop that. So I collected a payment from Shane, but then there's no way to stop anybody else that he sends it to from having access, right? Now, this is the next step where we could take all those prompts, we can take all that logic, we can create an agent, and we can truly put it behind a paywall, and we can safeguard that, and then we can either sell it, we can use it for internal use, we can sell access to it, we can wrap it, okay, with like a lovable front end, and now that becomes kind of our bread and butter, our unique intellectual property. All right, Chargewell is like one of those. I built it all in public, because even though, I mean, I hope that I'll make money from it eventually, but it's more so like this is an educational project to show you how to build something end to end and incorporate lovable n8n and high level in the process. Okay. So here's like my some of my logic on how to calculate the floor pricing, how to find comparable projects. So I'm giving it literally the step by step. It's almost like an SOP. All right. So all of those SOPs that you have from your business that you might have given for your virtual assistants or ask members of your team, you can kind of turn into agents now. And so again, I would recommend going through specifically with Claude with that n8n MCP enabled. And I'm also going to show you another reason why you want to have the n8n MCP, what the powers are with Lovable. All right, so I'm going through, and then this is where I also added some unique reasoning where it was like identify relevant go high level features, right? And so I trained it on some of the baseline high level features here, so that if I said something like around the RAG database system, if we look at the results, it actually will make recommendations that are related to high level. Okay. Or like how like it'll show that as part of the tech stack. Okay. So here I said for each relevant feature, estimate a setup or configuration value. And then, here's adjust for their specific situation. So if they're in a high, like a really expensive city like New York or San Francisco, then there'll be an upsell, right? So based on current, and that could even be fleshed out more. Step 5, build the offer stack, right? And then it's basically saying these are all of the outputs that I want. Now, this is where going to Claude for this type of prompt has really, really helped me, because I need this to come up in a specific format so that it can be extracted and then easily sent back, and Lovable knows exactly what to do. And the other thing that I love about this is that, again, with Lovable, there's no static place that where the agent logic lives where I can just click it and go see. And so because of that, there's more room for hallucination. There's more room for inconsistencies. But because I am so specific with this prompt, every time I put in this input in this webhook triggers, this is what I want as an output. And it fits the exact same structure every single time. And Lovable knows that. So every single time I get the exact same result. Okay. Jojo said, can I see the city-based pricing again, please? And this is where I can come in and like increase the logic, but it was something like the location, there's a 1.4x multiplier for like high profile, like expensive cities like New York and SF. Smaller cities is like just, like one, and then rural cities are slightly cheaper. All right. So it's not like crazy. I mean, I could supercharge this agent for and add on some tools or some databases for it to actually look at more like market conditions for specific cities. Instead, so right now it's kind of like there's tier one, like a big city like New York, there's like a regular city, and then there's a rural city. And then the logic is very limited. This is where I could go back in and you can consistently iterate. And so you see now why I would want to do that in n8n versus Lovable. Because let's say I wanted to build out and add more logic to how the location affects the price. I would have to go in and continually prompt Lovable. I could run through easily 20, 30, 40 credits just doing that all day. Where I come in, I edit it in n8n. It costs 0 credits. It costs $0. And all of these updates are made immediately. I don't have to ever even, I can set my lovable front end and forget it. And then I'm ready to go with my n8n workflow. Okay. So that was the AI agent here. This is part of what Claude came up with me is how this, what the output is going to look like, right? So these are all of the different aspects that I need. I need a recommended price. I need the floor price. And then we see how they get displayed on the back end. Here's the recommended price. Here's the floor price. Here's the upsell price. So it makes sure, because I've stated in my master prompt, that every single time I need it to have an output with all of these elements, all of these variables, and this is how you should do it. So here, 2 to 3 paragraphs, right? So this is where you can define if you want it to be in a bullet point, if you want it to have a certain length of either characters or whatnot, if you want the implied value, what it includes. So that's how I get this consistent result every single time. All right. So I put in the master prompt, again, just going over the architecture of the 4 main components that every agent includes. It's going to be your prompt, which is the most important. All right. Because people like this part, you can spend a whole day just on the prompt alone. And that's why I'm like, don't waste credits in Lovable trying to do that. All right. That's why you can always come here, update the logic with the prompt. Your brain, your chat model, your LLM, your memory, which you may or may not need. Because if I actually add memory here, well, one, it's going to be, it always defaults to a trigger node. Let's just do define. If I added this memory here and try to run this workflow, it's actually going to fail. All right, because it's going to be confused on what it's supposed to. So memory is typically used for chat. All right, so memory, you don't always need to have memory. All right, then I have the tool. And in this case, I have attached a calculator tool. I attached a code tool so that, let's see if we look at the pricing here. Sorry. Again, I'm not a coder. All right. So I can kind of reverse engineer and see what's happening here, but I don't write this code from scratch. I had all of this generated from Claude. Shane said you trained it on high level type pricing, but it still works for, say, a vibe coded app project or building an AI booking agent as well. Yes. But now maybe the high level type pricing is going to be like an upsell. So now it actually allows me just more leverage to say, if I know that I have that at my disposal, that's just an opportunity for me to do an upsell, right? But it's not just for high level. It's just that I know that I have that as a big audience. Lee said I tested it with coaching and it worked great. Amazing. I love that. So see, it works, and like it works consistently. And the first like 3 times that I demoed Chargewell live, it failed. And so whatever, it failed and on live, and only when I ever do it live. Every time I'm like just like sitting here and it doesn't matter. But now I can actually go into those execution logs and I'll be able to see when it fails. Whereas if it fails in Lovable and Lovable doesn't do that, at the bottom, the logs and try to fix, now I have to go in and I have to prompt Lovable and I have to ask it to debug and to show console logs and all of this stuff. And again, that's using credits. So here it's like I'm outsourcing all of that logic, all of that processing to an n8n agent. Okay. Execution. Yes. Jojo's asking execution. So it's the same thing. We also have this in high level workflows where you can always look at the executions and execution logs. They show you every single time a a workflow runs, it's considered an execution. When I go into prompt Lovable and I'm telling Lovable, hey, when a user clicks this this button, execute a webhook, right? And then the logs are showing all of those executions. So let's go see if I can find one down here. There was an error. So these all succeeded. So I can go to the error and then I can see exactly where my workflow failed. So here, see, it was a check, good, love that check. And then all of a sudden red X. So now I can click here and I can be like, what the hell is going on? I don't understand all of that. This is where I take a screenshot, I go over to Claude, and then Claude will write me the next like code, or to be like, oh, what's happening is that it's actually we just changed the naming convention, so we need to update the SQL data, and it'll tell me, and then that's how I'm able to get through. So this is definitely like no code, but I have a companion, which is Claude. All right. But that's the process. That's why logs are so important. All right. Logs are what tell us what's wrong. Okay. AI. So that's one strategy. You go in and be like, hey, can you make sure that you add console logs with specific errors? Okay. Now, we have about 15 more minutes left, so please hit me with your questions. Let me know if this is helpful. Sometimes I'm a little bit hesitant to teach n8n because I know it can be overwhelming and I don't want people to feel intimidated or overwhelmed. So I'm always looking for ways to explain this in the simplest way. This is a very high level overview. So it's not going to be a specific in depth on like how to self host and how to do credentials. That's kind of beyond what I could teach in an hour. But what I do want you to walk away with today is understanding the aspects of what an agent includes, which is the system prompt, the brain or LLM, the memory and tools. Okay. Lee said, I try to ignore logs like we ignore our low bank balances. Thanks, Kayla. Logs will be your friend, I promise you. When you're getting stuck and there's an error and you're just like, I can't figure, and you're just like slamming, fix it against the wall to lovable, like the logs could really come in. Like I seen it in a vibe code group where it was like, I'm trying to fix it, I'm trying to fix it. And people are like, well, did you look at the logs? Like, look at the logs, bro. Like you still gotta, don't outsource all your thinking to AI. All right, y'all. You still gotta like that's gonna be the difference between the good and the great. Okay. Shane said there's no vibe code type interface with n8n though. So once you get the update from Claude, how do you know where to put the input the new code in n8n? So in this example, Shane, where I have this error, oh, wherever it went, I don't even, I might have clicked off. Wherever I have the error, I'll take a screenshot of that. And so we'll go back and forth. Like, let me see, I can actually show you my Claude if that helps. Let me see if I can actually stop sharing and and show you the ridiculousness that I've been going through. So what I'll do is I will actually just say to take it step by step. So let me see if I can show you the prompt. It's like not letting me go all the way. But it would try one. This is one of my big tips is that sometimes Claude, it'll give you like an entire manual of like, here's how you solve the thing that you want. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like I could barely get past step one. Give this to me step by step. Let me see. No hallucinations. See, here we go. So it gave me this entire improvement plan and it was trying to do it over 6 weeks. I said, I need something that works today. Like we've been doing, take me step by step, one at a time through the next step and ensure that I make progress before moving on to the next. So here it'll be step one, show me your n8n RAG workflow. Or what's that? So now because I have the n8n MCP connected, it's actually able to get the workflow and like look at it. For some reason, yeah, here it is, the basic ad. So it looked up the workflows. So here it's like step one, fix the system prompt. So it'll tell me replace this with this. So it'll be very specific when you ask to know exactly where to paste that code. And sometimes it'll want you to replace part of a code. And I'm like, I don't know where a freaking paragraph ends or if I'm supposed to put a comma here. It's like, just give me the entire code block, copy and paste. Right. So you'll have to have those type of conversations back and forth. But here you can see now it's giving me a prompt. And then it's telling me the exact actions. And then I literally take a screenshot of that and then send it back. And now it's saying, oh, now in your Lovable app, I can see that there's the custom built. This is what's happening. Now I'm gonna do the show me the code here. And I literally just take screenshots and go back and forth. Right. We built these together, one for upload and then the front. So I had to re-give its memory. And then here, this is the air and for I updated the prompt to what you said. So that's the process. This is literally how I built this entire RAG system in a matter of a few hours by going through this. Okay, so for now, let's add where it actually documents the chunks. I can't remember where we started talking about that. We'll worry about the levels later. So I literally am going back and forth, and then it's telling me exactly what to run and where to run it. So I hope that that answers your question, Shane, because I know, yeah. I found a Udemy n8n course for $9.99. Go ahead. But be careful because n8n is one of those things where it's like you want to come in knowing what you want to build because you could do so much. It's just like high level, right? Like you don't really want to learn all of high level. You want to learn a couple features and then be the master of those, okay? Um, yes, Vasala asked if I could post the link where I create the Chargewell app. Let me see. I gotta find my YouTube on where I did that, or if I also have some of them were private and some of them were public. I can't remember. Let me see. The AI homegirl. I was on YouTube Live for um like 5 hours at one point. No, it was like I think only 4. And I didn't tell anybody and I just wanted to see who would come. And I had a fan named Troy who would just sit with me for like hella hours and just watch me build. So I think it would be I put in my YouTube link, which I'm working on, and I think it was one of these. Let me see. This one was an hour and a half. I might have been. This is okay. I was trying to create a thumbnail generator. Let me see. I think it was one of these, or it might be a private link. So I'll have to. Yeah, this is the charge well. This is me showing. Yeah, this is a 3-hour live stream. Here, I'll post this one, and it's ridiculous. So, I don't remember everything I said in those 3 hours. Just letting you know. But there's 3 hours of behind the scenes building on the Chargewell app. Okay. Creating a custom GP. So I've probably put in about 20 hours to this app so far. And that's also like creating the high level sequences and like all of that stuff. But let me, in this last 8 minutes that we have, I'm going to show you a little secret on something that a lot of people, not even lovable, are talking about. Okay. And that is the n8n MCP. Okay, so if I go into a project, let's even just go into this new RAG system that I am creating. And I go to my knowledge navigator and I'm sorry, it's just your settings, okay? But the way that I'm navigating to it is in the project. So I'm going to the project where I can access my settings. And then I'm going down to connectors, okay? So you can see now that there is a connector for n8n. All right, this connector for n8n. And that is what allows me to now go in and I tell my lovable project, go find this workflow and create a front end for it. That's one of the beauties. It's like, I don't know what aesthetic, I don't know what I need, I don't know the mechanics, but I have this workflow. You go find that workflow and you figure out what it's going to take to build the front end. Now, yes, and like, yeah, I know. No, Joe is a Notion girl, so there you go. You're like really supercharged. But let me tell you why this is such a game changer. Now, I don't want to make this like there's some nuances, all right? Like there's the other things that you'll need to know, but this is the overall way that you can make money with this. And I'm gonna let me show you now. I have all of these videos and I think that they're actually pretty
customer journeys end to end.
awesome. Anybody heard of high level here in the room? See. All right, we got some high level. All right, I'm actually going to just share my screen real quick and show you why this is powerful. And this is before the connection. So this is me in San Francisco at the n8n meetup. This is one of the events that led me to be an n8n ambassador. There's my 13-year-old niece. And I was teaching people about one of the agents that I built. Okay. Oh, and by the way, I'm like, okay, this is the part here. Hold on, where is it there? The n8n workflow. Sorry, I was trying to find. There's my niece. She talks about high level. We talked about lovable. I think. Oh my gosh, I cannot find the specific. This is also a good replay. I show an n8. This is one of my first products. Okay, so there's n8n. So what I was trying to show, and I cannot find like the specific timestamp. Make some noise if you just started using n8n. Oh my goodness. Okay. Where are we at now? So then I'm sorry, 1 second. A real for this last category. Make some noise if you're an n8n newbie. Now
Just
my
to make
YouTube
sure
is playing.
the same page. n8n, it's open source, drag and
All right.
drop,
Quick.
workflow.
Okay, so the video, it's the my official San Francisco n8n present and yeah, it's on my channel, the AI Homegirl. I presented with my niece. But what I was saying is all of these workflows in n8n, they're what's called a JSON file, right? But businesses don't buy these files, right? Like I actually like created it on a piece of paper and I gave it to my niece and then she ripped it up. We did this like little demonstration. That's what I was trying to show you. Because to a business owner, how does that solve my problem? It looks really complex, it looks really technical. Like they don't buy that, right? As automators, it's like we could nerd out at that all day, but the end user, they only care if this is going to solve their problem, if it's going to make them money, if it's going to save them time. All right. So now the opportunity that exists with n8n and Lovable is that there are over 7,000 pre-made workflows, a majority of them that you can access for absolutely free. You can find one, you can modify one that's solving a real problem, connect your n8n MCP, and then go and ask Lovable to create a front end for it and sell that over and over and over again based off the same workflow. So like that's where you can either be the one slaying the agents and then people can be building and or you can basically build the front end that's branded, that's customized. And so now I built that entire rack system. If I was trying to do that all in Lovable, that probably would have cost me at least 400 to 500 credits. I built it all in n8n and then asked Lovable to build the front end and I spent 20 credits. Okay. And that's what I'm about to show you right now, Jojo. Templates. Here we go. It is n8n.io/workflows. All right, this is the last thing that I'm going to show because I do have to hop at 11 today. So they have over 7,839 workflows. So I can literally just go in here. I can search like for an agent workflow. And there's over 2,000 ones. And this is a great one. This was the one I would recommend. Build your first AI agent. So what I can do is I can click this agent. I can see what it looks like, right? He even included a video here. I can see how it works, and then I can click use for free. And then it'll ask me, I can either get the raw file, the JSON that we talked about, or I can import it into my self-hosted instance. And then it'll ask me for the credentials. That's going to be the hardest part of getting set up. All right. That's like a whole different class is how to set up these credentials. A lot of mine are already set up. So it's a one-time thing. I like any kind of thing with a learning curve. It takes a bit to set up, but then it saves you in the long run like a ridiculous amount. So this is I just got this workflow just for free. And now what I can do is I can go to my settings. I can make this available in MCP. Actually, I have to publish it first for that option to show up. All right, I can make that available in my MCP. My MCP, it's a one-time setup between Lovable and n8n. I have a video on YouTube. I'm like the only one or the first one to create that video. So it's on my YouTube on how to like connect it. It's like a 2-minute process. Once I do that, I can literally go now to Lovable to a brand new project. And I can tell it, hey, can you go find the build your first AI agent and build me a front end? And Lovable can do that and now connect this workflow and build a front end where it's going to bring a chat bot. And then I can edit and do all the things, add vibe code components, make it beautiful, and then edit my agent from here. And then I can build a really powerful system that I can brand, that I can sell, that I can send to a prospect right away. And now, instead of trying to build this in Lovable for 100 credits, I'm able to build a front end for about 10 credits. Okay. Okay, sorry, I didn't even see that. Shane, thank you for bumping that question. Are you connecting n8n to Lovable with your separate sandbox n8n or your web app account? So it's my web well, it's my self-hosted instance. That's where I'm running everything from. Yes, will this be on AI Homegirl? Yes, I will go ahead and upload this on my YouTube, which I posted there earlier. And then thank you also for whoever added the video of me and my niece for going to find that and stuff. Thank you, Zippy. Thank you, Joa. Awesome. I gotta go too. Thank you, Lise, for being here. Thank you, Zippy. I appreciate it. Joe said, I need to pick your brand. I have a prospect I think I can use this for. Are you doing n8n or Lovable in Cancun? I'm kind of doing it all because my specialty is showing people how everything connects. Jonathan said, thanks. Jojo, thank you. Awesome. Well, we fit a lot into an hour. I hope that you feel inspired. This is just part one. I'm going to take this, I'm going to run it through and extract all these more resources. But awesome questions, everybody. Keep them coming. Joa, hit me up. Would love to help you. And I'm so excited. I'm going to see you in Cancun, AI Unleashed Intensive, not next week, the week after that. And I will talk to you all soon. Thank you so much. Oh, I appreciate that so much. And I will see you all again soon. I'll see you inside of a Vibe Code Incubator. Bye now.